Welcome to More Music Please, Quarantine Beat. We're exploring how the music industry is staying busy and keeping connected during lockdown, and also just talking about whatever. I'm your host, MK. Let's get started. On the phone with me this evening, it's Lara Hope of Lara Hope and the Ark-Tones and the Gold Hope Duo. Welcome to the Skype.
Hello, MK. It's my popping my Skype cherry right now.
Yeah, I am proud to be the one to do it. So how's it going? How's your quarantine so far?
Not all bad, I must say. Like I just mentioned, when you just rang me a minute ago, we're spending today. It's a little bit overcast, so we are bunkered down in our home studio, and we're working on some new quarantine-inspired music.
Nice. And we being just you and Matt, or now that things have loosened up a little bit, are you collaborating with some band members too?
It is just Matt and I. We have not seen our band since March.
Wow. Let's backtrack and for the uninitiated, tell me about Lara Hope and the Ark-Tones, about kind of what you would usually be doing right now, because this is summer touring season, right?
Yeah, I mean, I really love the Hudson Valley, and I really try to make some time to be home in the summer as opposed to just touring the whole time, especially since it's the winter time is when I want to get out of here. So we usually tour heavier in the winter, despite
True.
there being like a summer touring season. We'll just try to do, a couple weeks here and a couple weeks there in the summer, and then try to, spend some time at home and enjoy the beauty that is the Hudson Valley.
Yeah, yeah. But you do make the rounds. I mean, you do the festival circuit a little bit now. You kind of, am I correct in thinking that there's a couple of like rockabilly fests that you're kind of a staple of at this point?
Yeah, for sure. And we were supposed to be at one in April. Basically, as soon as the quarantine started, we were literally packing our bags and getting ready to leave on a 6-week coast to coast and Canadian tour that was going to take us mid March till the end of April.
Yeah.
And like I said, we were getting ready to pack our bags and the whole thing got called off. So we would have been out in California, up in Canada, playing some festivals. And we were the opening act for Tiger Army. And it was going to be a great tour. It was a good opportunity. We were playing a lot of really big venues and a bunch of the shows were already sold out. So who knows? I mean, last I spoke with the booking agents for Tiger Army, they were postponing the tour to September, although I have a strong feeling that's not happening at this point.
Yeah, yeah. How did you guys feel? I mean, were you walk me through what that was like, realizing that this huge tour wasn't going to happen?
Honestly, it was such a bag of mixed emotions, and I could not be more fortunate at the way it all shook out because Matt, who's my musical and my life partner, we just bought our first home and we closed on March 11th. And we were supposed to also leave for the 6-week tour on March 11th, like 5 hours later.
Oh my God.
So I had mixed emotions about, buying the house and leaving in the first place. And if it hadn't been such a good opportunity, I wouldn't have planned it that way. But so the fact that, the tour got canceled, it was like, I was heartbroken over that. We had, put so much time and effort and money buying merch and just months and months of promotion and excitement and rehearsals. So that part, obviously really sucked. But then I was kind of left with like, all right, wow, I just bought this house and I wasn't planning on being able to live here for 6 weeks. And now I can actually move in and get settled. And I have all of this free time that I wasn't expecting to unpack and work on the house and really like make this place a home.
Yeah, and I've been following your progress on Instagram. You've done a ton of work, and we're going to talk all about it. But first, I do want to just kind of ask how you've been keeping in touch with your fans during lockdown, whether you've been communicating with your bandmates. Like, how have you been kind of continuing your music career while you can't see anybody?
So pretty much as soon as quarantine started and I saw a couple of people start to go online doing live streams, Matt and I just hopped right on that bandwagon and we picked a day and a time right off the bat. We said, let's just do this every Monday at 7 o'clock. So this way we can just advertise it easily as, same time, same place every week. We're going to be doing a live stream from our house to yours. And we've done it without fail every Monday at that time. And so we've we've advertised it, through our mailing list, through bands in town, through Facebook, through Instagram. So I really tried my best to like reach out to all of our fans, let them know that this is what we're doing for now. And if you can't catch us this week, you can catch us next week. I mean, plus all the stuff on Facebook is, recorded and you can watch it after the fact. So we
Yeah.
did that. And, I still send out a mailing list email every few weeks, and we're kind of inspired by this new, the new world and the new normal, as people call it, to start writing songs about this. So, about 2 months ago at this point, we started writing songs for an album called Songs in the Key of Quarantine. So every week I've been trying to make like a couple of YouTube videos of us playing the tunes, and just kind of like as a teaser to let know people we're working on this, to let people know, excuse me, we're working on this stuff. And that's what we're working on today, recording.
Yeah, I think I played one of those songs right before I left the radio station, right? I think that was one of my my last locally grown moments was I played one of your lockdown songs.
Oh yeah, that was the first one, and I sent it to you. That was the Social Distancing Blues. Yeah, number one.
Yeah, and I loved it. You guys were right on top of it. And of course, you and Matt, it's great that, you have your side project, the Gold Hope duo, and very much like are in lockdown with a bandmate. So it's you guys are so used to collaborating together creatively that it must have just been like, okay, like more room to do that.
I really am so fortunate. But you know what? I've complained for so many years that I felt like I don't have enough time to just actually sit and write, because I'm doing my own book. Normally, I'm doing my own booking. We're doing our own promotion. We're doing our own graphic design and PR and marketing and everything, that the time to just actually sit down with a guitar and just write a song, or practice my skills. So sometimes I feel like that falls to the wayside in comparison to all of the administrative work. So being able to kind of put that stuff to the side and just be like, all right, let's write some songs about this. That, in conjunction with the fact that I feel like freshly inspired in my new spot, just kind of made it easy to start writing these songs. And Matt and I, it's been nice. We're collaborating more than usual now.
Yeah, that's amazing. That makes me think. So I was just on another podcast, Teresa's podcast, I Want What She Has, and she was asking me a little bit about my bands and about kind of what we think our future is and whether we're kind of in communication about that right now. And I was like, well, my bands are so casual. Like, yeah, I'm sure we're going to keep doing them because like it's not like any of us are relying on them for income. But in your case, you are a professional musician and you do make money by touring. So, what's that conversation been like with the members of the Ark-Tones throughout all of this?
We're kind of in a really awkward place, to be honest, because well, as I mentioned, I haven't seen any of them. And well, my drummer I saw for like 5 minutes when he stopped by to pick up some drums,
Yeah.
but my guitar player, he lives with his parents, and that's part of why we haven't seen him, because he just doesn't want to do anything that could possibly put them in danger,
Yeah.
because they're older. So he's been really respectful of that. And then right before all of this happened, our drummer had kind of told us that he was starting to lean more towards not wanting to tour as much, not wanting to gig out as much, and actually wanting to, he's got a home recording studio, and he's really been getting more into that end of things. So he
Mm.
kind of gave us a like heads up of, he wasn't leaving us hanging. He was still planning on doing this tour, but he was kind of like, as of this summer, you should start looking for someone that's going to be available to do everything you need. So now we're kind
Right.
of in this bad spot, because moving forward, I know I don't really have him full time anymore, but I'm not really able to audition new people either.
Yeah, I had forgotten. I remember seeing the Facebook post looking for drummers to audition, and then this all happened, and that all, of course, got pushed to the wayside.
If anyone that's listening to this wants to come audition for Lara Hope and the Ark-Tones, that would be great. Just reach
Yeah.
out to us. So in the meantime, I don't know. I'm just more so I'm trying to figure out like what to do with this album. We just recorded a full-length album in January, and the plan was, I was like just getting ready to launch an Indiegogo to help get the money to actually do publicity and like press the CD and press the vinyl and put it out. And then COVID-19 started, and I realized, well, this is not a good time to ask people for money. So I kind of just like, and I lost all of my own income also. So I
Hmm.
didn't really have anything to invest personally. So that whole like album release has been put on hold, and now I'm just trying to figure out like how to get that off the ground. Because sure, I can just go and release it, independently and not take the right steps, but it's like we've already put so much money and time and effort into this album. I want to put it out and I want to do it correctly.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, I have a tiny little inside window into a couple of the songs, and I know they're gonna be so good, and it's gonna be such a great record, and it would be a shame to not release it in as big and complete a way as it deserves.
Thank you so much. So I'm brainstorming that. I'm trying to figure out. I think I might do it more as an album pre-order campaign.
Yeah.
Less of like a fundraiser, just a straight pre-order, and but set the release date something realistic, like maybe September, October. Give myself a few months to really get the pre-orders in, and then do the publicity right, and then release it, even if it's in the fall.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it is. It's a funny position right now because I know you had just said that there's talk of rescheduling the tour you were supposed to do in spring for September, but you're kind of skeptical about the possibility of being able to do that, which I agree with, and I'm seeing some people trying to make plans and, even some people that I know and love trying to make plans for, these big events in like the fall. And I'm like, I don't think it's safe to make those plans yet.
Sure. And because even if some of these venues are able to open, it's like, do we personally feel comfortable putting ourselves in that situation? And more so, you know, uh, us, I don't want to be part of the problem. I don't want to bring sickness onto anybody if we're going from one city to the next.
Absolutely. And I mean, as much as we're all hurting and we're all struggling and, want to obviously get back to our lives and get back to making money, if we don't take this really seriously right now, we're just going to end up back in the same position, only worse, months down the line.
And
So
I
it's
think
like,
that in the upcoming weeks is going to be very telling, now that places are starting to open, of whether we can actually move forward with this or not. We don't even know right now, but I think in 2 weeks from now, we'll know a lot more.
yeah, yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's, I don't want to obviously dwell too much on sad or uncertain things, but I mean, just based on your expertise, as a longtime touring musician and an independent musician, what do you see as like the recovery for this? Like, if you had to guess, if you had to, make an educated prediction, like, what do you think things will look like in the music world, say, a year from now?
Man, it's really tough. I think a lot of it depends on how the continued antibody test goes, and if there is a vaccine, and if people are willing to take it, if there is one. I already see shows coming back in other states. I have friends in Florida and in South Carolina who are already out gigging. Given
Yeah.
the venues are open at like limited capacity, but they're still selling tickets, they're still playing bars, they're still out there. So I mean, it's too soon to see. Like, I'm curious how the numbers are going to be in Florida, because these were both within the past week or so, like how the numbers are going to be in Florida and South Carolina. um, and maybe smaller clubs, smaller bars will be able to get back to normal, but I don't know that I can safely see like large venues, let's say, a few hundred and up, or 500 and up. I don't know when those will be safe again.
Yeah, yeah. And I know there's efforts to reschedule things for like a year out. Like I had tickets that I'd gotten from my mom for a show at Omegang in July, which is obviously not happening. And instead of canceling and refunding, they rescheduled for next summer. And I'm like, well, that's great, but like, I what if next summer has to be canceled too? Or
I guess I've talked to a few people about this, and I guess I agree. It's like we can't just throw our hands up and throw the towel in and just say forget it. I think that even if it's just for our own psyches and to just keep ourselves going, maybe the best thing is to just reschedule. And then if the time comes and you need to reschedule again, you just do it again. It's
yeah,
more work, but it's like, is that better than just saying, okay, forget everything, we'll just cancel everything
yeah, yeah,
indefinitely? I don't know. At least the postponing of things, gives people like a glimpse of hope. Even if it's false hope, at least it's something to look forward to. And then, if and when the time comes and things need to be rescheduled again, well, like, I guess we'll cross that bridge when we get to it.
I wonder if there's going to be any kind of spike in like house concerts. in like really small gatherings of like, friends and family, just like pooling resources and hiring a band? Is that something that, if it started to happen, would you do something like that?
Oh, 1,000%. Even before COVID-19, Matt and I were already starting to play house concerts a little more, and I was really digging the vibe and enjoying them on so many levels. And I was already thinking about how can I get more involved in the house concert scene. And now that I'm a brand new homeowner, I was like, I want to start having house concerts here. So
Yeah.
given this stuff happening, I think without a doubt, people are going to start to do that. In fact, I was just trying to brainstorm how I could possibly do it in my backyard, maybe of like a, you have to RSVP in advance and it can only be, let's say, 15 people, or I'd have to measure the yard really and put chairs 6 feet apart, I guess, and see
Mm-hmm.
how many chairs can I fit in my yard 6 feet apart. And if it's 15, let's say, then it could be, the first 15 people that RSVP to this, and keep it small. Like it can be a duo or it can be an acoustic act. We're not trying to like, it doesn't have to be a crazy rock show. They could be more of like intimate listening concert kind of events.
Yeah, I think that probably works better for house shows anyway. What is it like to play those? Have you done some where it was like people you'd never met before who just saw you were going to be on tour and were like, "Hey, will you come play my party?"
Oh yeah, but it's never like, they're less of parties and they're more of like kind of what I just mentioned. They're more of like people call them, house concerts as opposed to house parties. And there
Mm-hmm.
is like a circuit for this, and people have, a mailing list, and people have dedicated followers, and some people know that, this person brings in music twice a month, and they usually bring in reputable music, so people will check
Yeah,
it out.
that's awesome. Like, what's the reception like when you've done that?
Amazing. I love it. Like what Matt said, Matt makes a good point. When you're playing a house show, people, it's just like a natural instinct to want to talk to the other people there and kind of make friends, whereas you're at a bar, you don't really necessarily talk to people you don't know, but at the
Yeah.
house show you're encouraged to talk to everybody.
Yeah, it's a much more intimate space, obviously, and you too, as the performers, I'm sure, get to know people a little bit better. I've played at bars, and sometimes people come up after and say, "Hey, that was great," and you say thanks, and that's kind of the extent of the conversation. But do you kind of walk out of those with new friends?
Without a doubt, yes,
Yeah,
definitely new friends, especially some of these places of number of, I mean, I haven't played a ton, but I'd say, under 10. But a lot of these people, they'll also put us up for the night. So even after the show's over, it's like we're there for the rest of the night, hanging out with the host, getting to know them. And more often than not, they have their friends hanging out also. And everybody's like having drinks and having a late night jam and, sometimes going swimming, depending on what the house is.
yeah,
So it really becomes like a hangout and, people exchanging Facebook information and et cetera. Um, and
yeah.
yeah, and
That's
people, you're not competing with like a television on playing the sports game when you're in someone's house. You're not competing with like a ton of bar noise. It's just these people that are there because they appreciate music and they want to see your show, and then usually they'll buy merch too.
nice. And then next time you're in that part of the country, you have someone you can hit up and say, "Hey, come to this show," or "Hey, do you have a place I can crash tonight?"
Exactly. Oh, an amazing thing that happened in February. Matt and I were touring as a duo, and we kicked off the tour with a house show in New Jersey. And I think we got the information. It was like a friend of a friend of a friend or something. This woman in New Jersey does, monthly or bi-monthly house concerts. We played her house. We stayed there, kind of just like what I just explained. It was a really good experience. And at right we the woman insisted we stay in her bedroom. It was very kind of her. And
Oh,
as we're laying in bed at night, I'm saying to Matt, what a great experience this was. And I made a post on Facebook, I think from the band page, and said, tonight we played this house concert and it was so wonderful. I wish we could do this more often. And the next morning, somebody comments, again, this is from the band page, so this isn't even a person I'm personally friends with. Someone wrote, "Oh, wow, it would be a dream come true if you could play at our house." Now, given Matt and I were already on tour, and that day we were planning on just taking a driving day to head south, we were headed to Florida, and we were already planning on driving to Virginia and staying with friends. So this woman writes, "It would be a dream if you could play at my house." So I look at her Facebook page. It says she lives in Virginia, like an hour from where we were already planning on going. So I write to her and say, "Hey, if you're serious about this, we're already planning on driving near your area tonight. If you want to make some calls and put your money where your mouth is, like we'll come do a house concert." Long story short, She made an invite. She invited people. She told us where she lived. We showed up at her house. It was small, but it was awesome. She was super cool. We stayed at her house. We made some money. We made some new friends, and it was a great experience.
That is so cool. Yeah, I hope that that is what the future of live music starts to look like. You know, if we can't have big venues right away, then let's all, you know, if you have the space and you have the ability, like open up your backyard and like bring in an acoustic act and bring in 20 friends who want to see some music in, you know, in a situation like that. I would love that.
Definitely. Yeah, I really hope that. And I hope to be a part of that. I mean, not, like I said, not just on the playing end. I would love to host some shows here.
Yeah, so let's talk about your house. So again, congratulations. And that is, I remember you had told me, but I had forgotten that you were closing on the day that you were supposed to leave on tour. So yeah, it's a little bit of a relief, I'm sure, that you didn't have to immediately rush off. So
And it's a
yeah,
relief
tell
that they didn't.
us.
It's a relief that they didn't just say, "Oh, screw it, you can't get your mortgage because everything's shutting down right now." At our
Oh my
closing,
God.
we were getting information that like all the SUNY schools were shutting down. Like the world was shutting down around us at our closing.
Yeah, I hadn't even considered that. I mean, you know, to to just air all of our laundry here on my podcast, I had to put my own mortgage into forbearance because I took a pay cut and then I lost my job, and you know, we only have my partner's income right now, so I kind of did that after the pay cut just as a precaution, and then I lost my job, and I was like, well, thank goodness I did that, but I'm glad it was an option, you know, and it's given us some breathing room. So you don't have to tell me about your finances or your mortgage, but tell me about the house. I've walked by; it's in a really cool part of town, and yeah, what have you been doing over there?
I think it's in I definitely, yeah, I think it's in an up and coming part of town. I know, Midtown Kingston, has been having this growth spurt over the past few years with the birth of the Midtown Arts District and just all these new businesses opening up on Broadway. So I really think that like the future of Midtown Kingston is bright and it's going to be a great place to live. Um, yeah, so this is our first home, and we lived in a great place before, but we didn't have any outdoor space, and just it was an apartment. This is
It was a really cool apartment. I just want to interject to say I'm glad I got in there once before you moved out and finally came to one of your parties because it was such a cool space. But yeah, I mean, there's nothing like having a place that's your own and b a place that has some outdoor space, which you have now.
I have that. I've spent pretty much the entire past week in the backyard, and I plan to spend the entire rest of the season in the backyard. I'm never going inside.
I ran into Matt at Herzog's and he was buying supplies for a water feature. Are we having goldfish? What's going on?
No gold. They had a couple of very neglected in-ground ponds that they're small. Like they could have koi fish in them, but we don't want that responsibility. So we're just putting some
Yeah.
flowers in there and have some water running, and they look pretty and they sound nice in the end.
Good for you. My house had a little, like, I think like a similar thing, like a little plastic pond with like a bubbler when I moved in. But it's like, it was such a silly place because like my house is so small and the backyard is so tiny and it's like so close to its neighbors. And the priority for us was just to put up a fence for the dogs. So the
Sure.
pond was like on basically the line that we were going to have to build the fence on. And it seemed like something that we weren't going to maintain and it was going to just become a mosquito breeding ground. So I give you a lot of props for putting the work in and actually maintaining your water feature.
Well, this is a compromise because Matt totally wanted to get rid of them. And I said, let's please just give them one season and see if we like them, see if they ruin our lives or not. And if it's terrible and it's too much work, we can get rid of them next year.
Did I see something like a tiki bar that you put in?
Yeah, it's funny. I quit drinking and now I have a tiki bar.
Well, you can have friends over. I mean, you can make virgin cocktails for yourself and
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, and rum cocktails for everybody else. That's delightful.
It's definitely a party space for sure. Like the people we bought the house from, they didn't do much to it, but the people that lived here for a long time before it, they definitely must have been party animals because there was a bar in the house, there was a bar outside of the house, and then they have this garage that we've now turned into our rehearsal space. But it was kind of a finished garage, and we kept trying to figure out like what did they use the space for because there was just some weird elements of it, and we finally realized that they had a hot tub in the garage.
Oh, But not
So these
anymore.
people are partiers. Not anymore. Now we like insulated the crap out of it. We actually, well, I guess one of the silver linings of COVID-19 for us was that Matt does some part-time work doing scenic fabrication at a local place in Kingston for a bunch. And they were supposed to do this big install at South by Southwest. It was for NBC. It was
Mm.
to soundproof an entire room. And when South by got canceled, all of this soundproofing was just sitting in the warehouse in Kingston and needed
Oh,
to be basically thrown away. So we got it all.
score. Oh my God. Nice.
So we really lucked out with that. So yeah, so we were able to soundproof a lot of the garage. We still need to get a little bit more, but it was a really good start, and we were able to get that for free. So it was just really lucky for us.
That's incredible. So you've got your own rehearsal space on site. You've got an outdoor entertainment area. And then I've seen you've been doing a lot of work inside the house too. You put in what looks like a really cute breakfast nook.
It's crazy. People would like think we had $5 if they looked at this, and it's like we only have two, but we're stretching it.
Yeah, it's looking incredible. And what I love is, so me and DJ have been in our house since November of 2018 or so, and we've done a few things here and there, but overall it's been, we focused really hard on getting the fence done. That was a huge priority, and then we've kind of been at like a standstill, but you guys really just went in and started making it your own. Was that, do you think, obviously, if this had not all happened, if there wasn't a lockdown, you would be on tour, but do you think you would have jumped in as hard once you got back from tour, or do you think it would have been more of a process if you weren't just home?
I don't think we ever would have had this time in my life if this didn't happen. I mean, I joked that the amount of time that we've spent in this house over the past 2.5 months would probably have taken us like 5 years of normal life to spend this much time here. I haven't
Yeah.
slept in the same bed for this many nights in a row since I started playing music. Just be
Wow.
like, we even if we're not on tour, we're always doing weekenders or one night away. Like we've been in the same room, in the same bed, in the same place for 2.5 months now. Like that has never happened, and it'll probably never happen again once life resumes. So I'm kind of just enjoying like staying put, having a little bit of a routine, and yeah, having the time to do this, and learning to garden. I've never had the space or the time to garden. And I know that's like everyone now is learning to garden and learning to bake. But you know what? Those are awesome things to
Those
do.
are
I'm glad
positive
people are doing
things.
that.
Absolutely. Just because everybody's doing it doesn't make it a bad thing to do, and I'm glad that those are two of the big things that everyone has grabbed onto. What are you growing?
Well, I don't know what I'll actually be able to harvest, so we'll see how it all shakes out. But so far, a ton of stuff like zucchinis, cucumbers, Brussels sprouts, spinach, lettuce, cauliflower, like peppers, you name it.
You just threw everything at the wall. See what
Yeah,
sticks.
because I cook a lot and we're vegetarian. So I mean, if I could just have a bunch of produce in my garden, like that'll cut our grocery bill, way down.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Since you're not eating meat, I mean, you could grow half of what you eat. Are you gonna pickle anything? Are you a pickler or a preserver?
Sure. I mean, if I have extra, I will.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
these
most
are all things
definitely.
we can
I'll
learn.
I'll sure make some pickles if I've got some extra cucumbers. But there is just this crazy joy that I've like never experienced that I'm getting out of watching my garden grow and weeding it. And I've been like experimenting with growing some things hydroponically just in this little
Ooh.
window in the house. And you just cut every. It's crazy how easy it is. You just cut off the bottom of your celery stalk, cut off the bottom of your lettuce head, and just stick it in a little glass of water and just watch that thing grow really quickly.
Yeah, I historically am not the world's greatest gardener. I think my next thing on the horizon is a garden project. There's a corner of our yard that I don't think you would have noticed when you were here because I think it was still kind of winter, but there's one part of the yard that grows different stuff than the rest of the yard. It's always growing these big giant weeds and huge vegetation, so I'm like there's good soil there. So my plan is to dig that out, till it up, fence it off so the dogs can't get in there and ruin it because they will, and then try planting some stuff. And I've had like test runs with house plants. I have a decent house plant collection now, and I've been keeping all the same plants alive. I have maybe like 7 or 8, and they've all been alive like since we've been in the house. So, and some of them longer. So I feel like I can do it, but I mean, I'm not like a natural green thumb type of person, I don't think.
It's all a process, a learning process. I had a friend lend me a book recently, and it's called the square foot gardening method. And so I just started not knowing anything, and I read this book and I followed as much as I could. And now I'm reading a book on hydroponic growing. So I'm just trying to learn a little bit every day. But
Yeah. I
another
know there's
challenge with, sorry,
you first. You first. Go ahead.
another challenge with this that I haven't dealt with before is all these animals that want to come in my backyard and eat my garden and mess with my dog, because we've put some, good fencing up, but so far my dog has killed a squirrel and fought a groundhog
Oh,
and then killed another groundhog. She had like a big fight with a groundhog 2 days ago, and 1 point for my dog and 0 points for the groundhog.
wow, Dolly. Who knew? I didn't know she was so tough.
Oh yeah, well we had to take her to the vet afterwards. The groundhog bit up her tongue, and so her
Oh
tongue was all
no.
bloody, and the bottom
Ah.
was is bruised. So she's on some antibiotics now, but
Oh, poor
um,
baby.
hopefully they don't keep. I mean, hopefully that was the only one.
There's a lot of, I see a lot of groundhogs around Midtown. I see a lot of bunnies, which is less harmful than, I imagine, less ferocious than groundhogs. But I do see them out there. I think you're probably clear of deer.
Yeah, I mean we have a fenced-in yard, so the deer couldn't get in, but a groundhog obviously can climb under, or a rabbit or a squirrel can go over.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, you have to think about protecting your crops from animals, animal interference, but also, in my limited experience as a farmer, I worked very briefly on an organic farm down south, and I know that like there are things that grow better together and there are things that don't grow well together and there are things that, you have to think about the season and the time of the season in which you're planting them and it feels like an overwhelming amount of information to keep in your head, but I imagine, I just need to like pick a couple things, start small. Have you been intimidated by that at all, or are you just kind of like, let's go for it?
Uh, I agree. It is an overwhelming amount of information. So I've kind of just like picked what I can handle for now, and I'm sure there are things that are going to fail this year. But as my friend told me that lives down the block, who's got a kickin' garden, she said, this is my fourth year doing it, and it's a learning experience. And every year you learn from your mistakes, and it gets a little easier.
Yeah. All right. I just got to start. Yeah. So my gardening project is, I think, the next thing on the horizon. I did, once I lost my job, one of the first positives that I realized was, oh, I can do house projects now. So I recaulked my bathtub, which was great and which felt really good because that was one of those projects that like obviously nobody had ever taught me how to recaulk a bathtub, but I was like, I bet I can do this. I'm sure it's simple, and I looked it up on YouTube, and it was really easy, and I was able to do it myself, and it looks so much better now. We've been living with this nasty-looking bathtub for like a year, and now it looks, like people live there and use it, and that
We're
was
so,
really great.
we're so lucky that we live in this internet and YouTube age that it's at the tips of our fingers. How do we caulk a bathtub? All right, let's look it up on YouTube and figure it
Yeah.
out. It's amazing that we can learn to do anything thanks to the internet.
You really can, and it makes you feel so self-sufficient. Especially like as a woman, like we're not necessarily raised to feel empowered to do things ourselves around the house. Like we by default we're not kind of like told that we are handy. So I kind of especially grew up with this idea that like somebody else needed to do it for me, and like when something goes wrong around the house, my first instinct is usually like call the professionals. And I'm learning, like, look on YouTube first, see what it's going to take to fix this. Maybe I can do it. And
Hmm.
yeah, that feels great.
And especially being, having our incomes kind of taken away from us, it definitely forces us to say, all right, I'm not going to hire somebody. I'm going to learn how to do this myself. So in a way, I mean, it's forcing us to learn and grow.
Yeah. And it feels so good to get stuff done. It makes you feel like you're living in a new space. I had done a little bit of painting when I first bought the house before we moved in because DJ was on tour right after I closed. He went on tour and I had like a month where our stuff was still at the old apartment and I still had like a month left on that lease. So I used that time to like slowly move some stuff over, and then I also did some like painting projects, and I did this nice dark gray in the living room, which I still really love. And I didn't do the rest of the house, and like I kind of wished that I had, because then obviously all our stuff was there and I didn't
Hmm.
feel like I had time. So I just recently did our bedroom, and it was this like it was like a butter yellow. It was fine. I had no problems with it. In fact, I remember thinking like when I was moving in before we put all the stuff in there, I was like, I could repaint this bedroom, and it's a pretty big room. But I was like, nah, I think this yellow is fine. And DJ's office was the same color. And like a year into living here, DJ was like, "Hey, actually, I hate that color." I was like,
I
"I
just
had no idea."
realized.
Yeah, I had no idea he felt so strongly about it. So I was like, "Well, I got time. I could take on this project." And I didn't overthink it. He wanted something dark, and I kind of was like, "Well, how about like a dark teal?" And he was like, "Sure, whatever." And I kind of picked out a color and bought it and went for it, and I am so happy with it. Like, I just lie in our bed sometimes and just look around the room like, ah.
I
And
understand.
yeah, and then he got inspired and painted his office the same dark gray as the living room. And like, it's like a fresh upstairs now. It's so nice.
It's the best thing we can do at this time is just, make something better, make our surroundings better, or learn how to do something.
And you guys have really been putting like a very personal stamp on things, which I think is awesome. Like, we are very just like, I feel like we're still in some ways like a couple of college students who just carried over all of our stuff from our dorms, and just that's what we have. But I feel like you guys have themes, and you have like decor ideas.
It's true. I mean, for so long, I thought, man, if I had more money, it would be better, because it's challenging to do it on a budget. But this is the first time probably for either Matt or I that we're actually buying stuff new. Like, and I don't get me wrong, since we moved in and a lot of stores have been closed, we've gotten a lot of good stuff from Let Go and the Facebook Marketplace, and people
Yeah.
have been great. I just say to people, leave stuff in your driveway, and I'll just take money and leave it in an envelope, and this way we never have to like see each other or touch, and we just clean stuff off in the driveway, and it's
Hmm.
like totally social distance and safe. So we've gotten a lot of stuff this way. But in my last place, almost everything we had was a hand-me-down. It was just like,
Right.
this used to be my aunt's, and she gave it to my cousin, and then she gave it to me, and this was my friend's, and she was getting rid of it, so I took it, and I got this at Salvation Army. This is the first time I'm like trying to get some stuff because I actually like it and not because it's free or really cheap.
Yeah. And what a great feeling. And then, I see your pictures on Facebook and Instagram, and I'm like, oh my God, their place looks so cohesive and intentional.
We're trying. I mean, we luckily Matt and I like a lot of the same kind of stuff, and we do like the kind of mid-century modern look, and we because our house is all wood panels everywhere. So when we joked, and when we first started hanging pictures, it looks like the acoustic room of the Guitar Center. I got a lot of guitars hanging up on just all this wood paneling.
Are you going to paint the wood paneling, or are you just going to keep it as is?
We thought about it, but we're just gonna keep it. It's I thought it'd be too much, but it's kind of charming.
I don't hate wood paneling. There's a lot of it around Kingston, I've noticed. There's some in my house, not a ton, but like a little bit on the stairwells, and like I have some other friends who have bought some older houses, and it seems like there was a big wood paneling movement here. But I don't hate it. I think it's kind of cozy. It's kind of like cabiny.
When you're having a conversation, you need to say like, knock on wood, I can just turn anywhere and it's done.
It's right there.
It's right there.
Yeah, and I mean, I love so much being able to use spaces creatively. Like, my house is very small. There's not a ton of extra space here, and I didn't think there was room for both of us to have like office spaces. We had agreed that one of the rooms was going to be his for his office because he already worked from home. So then when I, needed a little studio space, I looked around and I realized we have this walk-in closet, and we actually have two closets in the bedroom, and one is like a little bit smaller and the other one is a walk-in with this like cedar cabinet. And I was like, I think I can work in here. It's also the only room in the house that has any shot at being even a little bit soundproofed. So I'm in here now, and like we got this new desk for it that fits really perfectly in the end, and like it's great, and it's mine. And the only issue that I see coming down the pike is that it is getting hotter, and I'm not sure how I'm gonna like keep it
Mm.
cool in here. But I'll cross that bridge when I come to it, I guess.
I remember seeing a picture of this that you posted, and it did look very cozy and awesome that you got that together.
Yeah, yeah, especially now that I have a real desk in here, because I was working on this like little vintage school desk that I had taken out of my grandmother's house when she was moving out. and it was technically everything fit on it, but only in the very technical sense of the word fit. So yeah, I've got a little bit of space now. It's nice.
That's great. That's awesome. And I'm trying to think, it's like you could put a fan on, but then you're going to hear it when you're recording. We're just trying to, figure out the same thing in this garage. We're recording. We usually have the dehumidifier running or the ceiling fan on, but you have to shut everything off when you're recording.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess you put in an AC, you blast it when you're not using it, and
Yep.
then,
There
yeah,
you
then
go.
turn it off when you come in and just shut the doors and try to keep the cold in for a little while.
That sounds about right.
Yeah. So are you doing your recording in that space, the garage space that you renovated?
Yep. I'm sitting here right now, and it's I'm so happy. I'm loving it. It looks just like our old living room. It has our old couch, our old blinds, and our old carpet. So it kind of feels like home already. And
Did you did
yeah,
you have a
it's great.
bunk bed in a corner of your apartment? Am I making that up, or was there a bunk bed?
No, there is. I just bought it. It was my childhood dream to have one of those futons on the bottom with a bunk bed on the top. I wanted one as a kid so badly. I'm an only child, but I had a friend stay over a lot and stuff, and my mom just wouldn't let me get one for whatever reason. So and we well when life is normal, we often have bands stay over that are on tour. So I was trying to think like how can I have more space for people to stay here more comfortably? And then ding ding, I found on Craigslist the futon on the bottom with the bunk bed on top, and now I have it, and I haven't been able to have any guests, but
Mm-hmm.
eventually I will.
It's a really cool piece of furniture, and yeah, there's something very like ooh, like tree fort about it.
Yes, it like brings out your inner child.
Yeah. What other like home decor or furniture goals do you have? Is there anything that you're like, I would love to have this in my house?
Oh, I don't know. That's a good one. I some of the things I've already gotten. I mean, I've like lucked out. Like I said, I got lot of really great things used, and the best thing that I bought was an outdoor couch.
Hmm.
And I've just been like lounging on that thing, and I'll probably spend the rest of the summer there. And I love being outside, like I love nature, and it's great to have a table and chairs and everything, but to get one of those outdoor couches where you can actually like lounge in comfort outside, there's just nothing like it.
Totally. Totally. Yeah, we got some of that. We bought some used outdoor furniture off some friends I think last summer, and one of them has kind of become like the dog's bed during the day. They kind of hang out there, but I did move one to the front porch, and I actually did go out and read on my front porch the other day, and it felt good.
I bet. Yeah, for sure. I'm just like if only New York could keep the weather like this all year round, it would be perfect.
Yeah, yeah. Like it doesn't have to really get over 90. I think
Yeah, and it
85 would
doesn't
be a
need to
good
snow
cutoff.
either.
True. Yeah. Are you guys like home game room people? Like would you want to have like a pool table, anything like that?
Nah, not really.
No.
Not so much. I don't know. Matt has like quite a good record collection, and we're able to set up like a nice kind of DJ area. We've got a disco ball that came out of a storage space that was my dad's from the 80s. So we're gonna get the disco ball going, and then eventually Matt can have some like DJ party in the living room.
Nice. Nice. That'll be awesome. What about
Actually, he wants to do some live DJing on Facebook, so hopefully he'll get to that soon.
oh yeah, no, he should just yeah, start it off.
He just said he doesn't know if he's entertaining enough. Well, Matt, you don't have to be entertaining enough. You just play the entertaining music.
Yeah, just sit there in front of a camera.
Yeah, you sit there and just make cute faces.
I think we're all starved for entertainment. We'll watch anything.
For sure. I know a lot of other people are doing it. Yeah, they just like I mean, sure, you could listen to the radio station or whatever, but if you know somebody and you already like their musical taste and you know they're going to curate like a nice hour of music that you might not hear elsewhere, then why not? So,
I love a
you don't
good
have to stare
DJ.
at it either. Just put it on and then cook dinner, or put it on and do your laundry and just have a good soundtrack in the background.
Yeah, I love a good DJ mix, especially like, yeah, when it's somebody who knows stuff that I don't necessarily know, and then you end up like hearing all these great songs that you wouldn't have otherwise heard. There's a lot to be said for that.
For sure. Most definitely.
Yeah. So what about like bigger renovation projects? Is there anything like long term that you kind of are like, we're gonna have to get to this, but we don't want to deal with it yet?
Yeah, the roof.
Yeah.
The roof is something we'll have to, not the whole roof, part of the roof we have to get to at some point in the near future. But we are next weekend actually knocking down a wall and putting in a second shower.
You're knocking down a wall?
Yes. Well, we are
That's
not, but luckily my husband's brother is a contractor. So he's coming and he's going to knock down the wall and put in another shower so we can have one for guests.
that is very brave, but you're going to be super happy.
Yeah, I'm excited about that. It'll be nice to, I don't know. I love having people over, and especially when I'm actually allowed to have people over, I can't wait to be able to just, entertain and have guests here and not have to share a shower with them.
Yeah. Yeah, guest room is a big one. If we ever do end up being in a position to buy a bigger, better house, I think guest room is one of the first things we're going to be looking for. Because it's nice to just be like, here's your room. Like, not like, oh, I'm going to set you up on the couch. Like, no, here's your room. It's yours. You've got your space. You got your privacy. You have an actual bed.
This quarantine, since Matt and I moved into this house, is the first time in our entire relationship that we've ever lived alone together.
Really?
We've always had a roommate until April or until March.
And how many years is that?
8.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man.
And we might have one here. I mean, like I don't know what our financial future holds, so we might have to get a roommate, but it's like now seems like not the right time to invite people into your house, especially someone you might not know that well or you don't know where they've been. Like, it seems maybe not the right time to do that.
Yeah, and just complicates things so much because even if it was somebody that you knew and liked and trusted, like then they still have, possibly people that they want to or need to see that then you have to kind of contend with that. And yeah,
Of course. I'm trying to figure out a way. It's like to see my grandma. She's 94. She lives down on Long Island, and I just actually wrote a song about her last week, and we're gonna try to record it today. It's called "When Will I See My Grandma Again?"
ah,
Because it's like, really, when will I see my grandma again? This has been 3 months practically or more since the last time I saw her, and I don't know. I'm trying to figure out, maybe I can take the antibody test and then take the COVID test if that comes back negative, and then quarantine for a bit, and then maybe try to go visit.
yeah, it's so tough, especially with elderly people and very young people. I'm kind of in the same boat with my nieces, where it's like, well, I think I'm okay, but if I'm wrong, then I could really mess somebody's life up.
For sure. Yeah. So luckily, it seems like these tests are becoming more readily available.
Yeah, I want to say free, maybe at Rite Aid. Somebody might have told me.
I think that's true.
Yeah, yeah. So I'll have to go and get one of those one of these days. But I mean, again, knocking on the wood of my little cedar closet here, I have been fine and I have been healthy so far, and being careful. But I love the idea of hosting some. I would even think about hosting a backyard concert here. I don't have a ton of space, but if I had 10 people and a 2-person band, I think we could set up some chairs around the fire pit, and I think it'd be nice.
We actually just got asked a few days ago if Matt and I would play at someone's house as a duo in about 2 weeks from now for a birthday. I'll put party in quotes that they want to have. And their plan is to invite people in shifts. Like, he said he wouldn't have more than, like 6 or 7 people at a time. So, X, Y, and Z will be invited at 4 o'clock, and then the other friends will be invited at 6 o'clock or whatever. And he wanted us to play, and I was, very unsure of really how to answer him. But then I asked him some more questions, and he sent me photos of the layout of his house, and he's got a balcony, so we can stand up on the balcony, and then the other people would be hanging out down below. So it's probably like, 10 feet below.
Yeah.
So when I saw that, it made me feel a little more comfortable. And with him saying he's going to invite people in shifts, like, we still haven't ironed out all the details, but I think we're going to do it.
Yeah, I think it sounds
hopefully
great.
That's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so, birthday parties have been one of the biggest kind of bummers this summer so far. I had a friend turned 30, and this is a friend who is so outgoing and loves to throw parties, and had this big awesome plan for her birthday party, and everybody was all excited, and her birthday was in April, and obviously we weren't able to do any of that, so we all drove through her, she's got this big parking lot at her apartment, and we all kind of like drove through and, parked our cars and like would stand 6 feet apart from each other. And she and her boyfriend were up on their balcony, and, we would just chat from 6 feet or further apart. And, it was better than nothing, but it was like, oh man, like this sucks.
It'll be an unforgettable birthday.
Yeah, exactly. It's true. None of us will ever forget it.
So we'll see. I mean, luckily the weather's good and people can hang out outside. And what I worry more is like if this continues into the fall or God forbid, like into the winter, and people aren't able to just say like, hey, come out and hang out in my backyard. And well, I mean, obviously in other parts of the country, it won't be as hard, but here in the Northeast, like that's going to suck.
Yeah, we're going to be right back to just being alone in our houses, which is hard on a lot of people. I realize like how lucky a position I'm in, to be living with somebody that I love and only that person, and to not really feel particularly lonely most of the time, and to be able to like see my friends sometimes in distant situations, and like there are people who are not even that lucky, and I don't want to downplay how hard this is.
For sure. I heard someone call it like quarantine privilege, and that's something. No, I have it.
Yeah, me too. Definitely want to acknowledge that. But I really I'm glad to hear that despite the obvious massive bummer of having a tour canceled, that it was also kind of a blessing in disguise for you guys. I didn't even really consider that, like, just the timing of that was so crazy for you. So I'm glad you've been able to enjoy this time in your house and be able to put your stamp on it and spend time together as a couple with no roommate for the first time.
One of the things that was all like that, also the timing just couldn't have been crazier, is that since we were supposed to be gone for 6 weeks, and we had just gotten home from a tour at the very beginning of March, and we were only home for 1 week before leaving for this other, before we were supposed to leave for this other tour. So, and we had subletted our apartment to this girl, and when our tour got canceled, she, we, thank God, had this house to move into, because we couldn't have stayed at our own place because we had already rented it out. But we did rent it out like fully furnished with all of our belongings. So for the first 6 weeks that we lived in our house, someone else was living in our apartment with all of our stuff.
Oh, you couldn't. I mean, I guess, yeah, that's really kind of you to not be like, hey, circumstances have changed, we need our couch. But
I took like a few things. We took, literally like 2 spoons, 2 forks, 2 plates, etc. But I couldn't take like the bed, or I couldn't take the couch. I couldn't take the television. I couldn't take all the pots and pans. So it was like slim pickings around here for the first 6 weeks. But I mean, what if we didn't have this house? We I don't know where we would have stayed. We would have had to stay with our family or whatever.
Yeah. Oh man. Well, yeah, that is very nice of you to be so accommodating.
I try not to be an asshole.
Yep, that's all we can do. Or that's the bare minimum that we all should be doing, at least.
Definitely.
Well, Lara, thank you so much for this call. This has been really fun, and I am happy to hear things are going so well at the house. I can't wait to see it when finally we can all see.
I can't wait to have you.
Yeah. Once again, tell me about what you guys have going on. You've got the Monday night streams.
Yep. Every Monday we stream from Lara Hope and the Ark-Tones Facebook page. And I try to also do a cross promotion with my personal page. So that's every Monday from 7 to 8. And then soon, hopefully, we'll have this new release of all quarantine inspired songs called Songs in the Key of Quarantine. And if anybody wants to know more information, just follow me on Facebook, or more easy than that, just sign up for our mailing list. You can go to larahope.net, Lara hope.net, and sign up there, and I'll let you guys know when we have new music out or what's going on.
Spoken like a true pro.
Thank you.
Well, yeah, thank you again, and I'll see you around Kingston.
I look forward to it, MK.
Thanks for listening to More Music Please Quarantine Beat. Follow the show on Instagram at moremusic.podcast, and check out the website moremusicpodcast.com for new episodes. Questions or comments, email moremusic.podcast@gmail.com. Thanks to DJ Scully, Michael Cadnar, and James Stewart for the catchy theme song you're hearing now. I'm MK Burnell. Talk to you next time.